Hello everyone, and let's check out the fourth game of Morphy against Anderssen. This is the fourth official chess game between these two players, and in the previous game, Paul Morphy defeated Adolf Anderssen. It was a disastrous chess game for Anderssen, and right now, both players was tied with 1 point. At this moment of the game, Anderssen is 1.5 point, and Morphy is also 1.5 point. The first player who scores the 7th win is going to be victorious in the series of matches. So both players need 6 more wins in order to score the winning point. And this time, Adolf Anderssen is playing with the white pieces. Morphy has black. So let's quickly check out the fourth official chess game between Morphy and Anderssen. Adolf Anderssen starts the game with playing e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5. The Spanish opening by Anderssen, a6, bishop to a4, knight to f6, d3, bishop to c5, c3, and Morphy played b5, attacking the bishop, bishop to c2, d5, e takes, knight takes on d5, h3, and both players castled h6, d4, e takes, c takes on d4, attacking the bishop, bishop to b6, knight to c3. So if knight takes knight, that would only help white to solidify his position. That's why Paul Morphy didn't capture the knight, and he played knight from d to b4, attacking the bishop. So in the game 2, we have seen a very similar line. So after knight from d to b4, Anderssen played bishop to b1, defending the bishop, bishop to e6, a3, attacking the knight, knight to d5, bishop to e3, knight to f6, queen to d2, rook to e8. So after this move, Anderssen played rook to d1, bishop to d5, knight to e5, queen to d6, queen to c2, and finally, Paul Morphy captures the weak pawn, knight takes on d4, bishop takes on d4, knight takes on d5, queen takes on e5, knight takes knight, queen takes knight. And in this position, as you can see, Paul Morphy is a pawn up. And it looks like also Paul Morphy is attacking on b2. How to defend? Well, Anderssen played queen to h7, that's check, king to f8, bishop to e4, rook from a to d8, king to h1. Well, after rook from a to d8 by Paul Morphy, as you can see in this position, the position is dead for Anderssen, and everything is falling apart. And have a good look at this position, and look at this position carefully. Paul Morphy is attacking on f2, and at the same time, attacking on b2. There is no defense, so Anderssen played this desperate move, king to h1, and Morphy captures on b2 with the bishop, attacking the rook, defending, rook from a to b1, and rook takes rook, that's check. So what else? Anderssen captures back, rook takes on d1, but then queen takes on f2, and right now Paul Morphy has 3 extra pawns. Maybe a modern grandmaster in our time would maybe resign in this position, but Anderssen didn't resign, and he played queen to h8, that's check, king to e7, attacking the queen, queen to h7, and Paul Morphy is not going for the material by capturing on a3, and Morphy played bishop to e5. He wants to finish off his opponent as soon as possible. Bishop to f3 by Anderssen, but Morphy played queen to g3, threatening checkmate, king to g1, queen to g6, the most logical move, of course. And in this position, Paul Morphy wants to simplify the game with removing the queens in the board. So after exchanging the queens, everything would be much more easier for black. Black has 3 extra pawns, and white doesn't have any choice but to capture the queen. So Anderssen captures the queen, f takes on g6, bishop to b7, attacking the pawn. And Paul Morphy didn't defend the pawn and he played rook to b8, attacking the bishop, bishop takes on a6, getting back one of the pawns. But still Paul Morphy has two extra pawns, so c6, defending, king to f2, bishop to d6, attacking the pawn, rook to d3, defending on a3, and after this move, Morphy played king to d7, king to e2, rook to a8, attacking the bishop. So how to defend the bishop? I guess bishop to b7 is the only move, but then Morphy captures on a3, and still Paul Morphy has three extra pawns, and Anderssen is in big trouble. But he is not resigning and he played bishop to c8. A tricky move, but it does nothing. So if king takes bishop, rook takes bishop, Morphy preferred king to c7. Morphy wants to hold his bishop, rook to d1, rook to a2, that's check, king to f3, and we have bishop to c5, bishop to e6, rook to f2, check, king to g3, rook to f6, attacking the bishop, rook to d7, king to b6, bishop to g4, bishop to d6, that's check, king to h4, c5, and marching the pawns. And how on earth white is going to stop these pawns? Can you see any bright ideas for white to stop these black pawns marching? It's impossible. So Paul Morphy played c5. How to defend? Anderssen played bishop to f3, c4, marching. Well, in this position, Anderssen captures one more pawn, rook takes on g7. But Morphy played rook to f4, that's check. Blocking with the bishop, bishop to g4. Well, after rook to f4, if king to g3, then rook to f7, that's check with the bishop and also attacking the rook. So king to f2 and rook takes rook. So this is why after rook to f4, Anderssen played bishop to g4. Paul Morphy pushed the pawn, c3. And it appears that there is no defense. But Anderssen played another desperate move. Instead of resigning, he played g3, attacking the rook. Morphy played a move and Anderssen resigned. Finally, well, Morphy chops the bishop with the rook takes on d4 and Anderssen resigned. And this is the last position of the game. And this was the killer move. And after this move, there is no defense for white. And it's impossible for white to defend the c-pawn. C-pawn is going to become a queen. So everything is very clear and obvious, so maybe it's unnecessary to show you the possible continuation. But let me show you the possible continuation very quickly. So king takes on g4 but c2. It's impossible for white to defend the pawn. So let's play a silly move, rook takes on g6, defending the bishop, king to h5, and c-pawn promoted to a queen. And there is no need to go further, you get the picture, it's all over for white. Black has the queen, and it's impossible for white to win after this position, especially against Paul Morphy. So this is why, after g3, Paul Morphy simply captured the bishop with the rook. Morphy said, enough of this charade, and let's finish this game. That's why, after this aggressive move, rook takes on g4, Anderssen resigned. Well, Adolf Anderssen was one of the strongest players in that era. He was considered as the leading chess player in the world. And yet, Morphy made Anderssen looked like an ordinary chess player who has just learned how to play chess. Morphy simply defeated Anderssen, crushed Anderssen like his daddy, like a daddy would crush his little kid. Morphy defeated Anderssen easily. What a dominating performance by Paul Morphy. And another disastrous chess game by Anderssen. So Morphy, after this game, scored his second point against Anderssen. So Morphy is 2.5 points. And Adolf Anderssen is 1.5 point. So Paul Morphy is leading with 1 extra point. And I see you guys next time with the 5th official chess game between these two players. In the series of matches, Morphy challenged Adolf Anderssen for the World Chess Championship title. At that time, it was an unofficial title, but everyone knows that Adolf Anderssen was the strongest leading player in the world. So if Morphy defeats Anderssen, Morphy is going to be the leading player in the world, recognized by the chess world. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Take care and bye bye.